What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Atlasthemd student. Please don't forget the student. And today we are here with our first video in the series, our Pre-Med University series. And the first question is, what should I major in? You know, I'm a pre-med student. I'm heading out to college. Maybe I'm already in college and I'm thinking, like, seriously, what do I major in? And so guess what? I'm gonna answer these questions for you today. I'm gonna slip on my old advising hat and be able to answer most, if not all, the questions that you guys have as you're heading into college or starting college or wherever you're at, saying, hey, what am I gonna major in? I don't wanna waste any time. We're gonna jump right into some information. And I'm gonna line this video up for you just like this. So we're gonna first talk about, understanding what is pre-med, what's the pre-med track, is it a major, is it a track, going through all of that. Then we're gonna cover choosing a major and all that goes into that. We got a couple of points there. And then at the end, I got some helpful tips for you to be able to understand what goes into building your education to make sure that you're in full control of setting yourself up for success. So first up, understanding what is pre-med, and then how do I choose a major under that. So pre-med, so that you know, is not a major in itself. At some places it is, but a lot of places pre-med isn't necessarily gonna get you a major. Pre-med, for the most part, means that I am a student who is choosing to pursue medical school. That's the basis of it. Now, other places and many schools and institutions will say pre-med is a track, or they may even have a pre-med major. For schools that have a pre-med major, that usually means that they're gonna have all of the courses you need to get into medical school and will allow you to take those courses, classify yourself as that major, and you can graduate with those credentials. For this video, those people will not need any more advice. Everything is taken care of for you, okay? The next kind would be for students who are under a pre-med track, in which you would go to an institution, they will have pre-med as a track, and then underneath you will still have to choose a major to qualify yourself underneath this pre-med track. Under that track area or track focused school is where you'll really have those schools have prereqs built into them, and they will make sure that you get on track with those, in addition to having a major that you will choose for yourself. And we'll get into a few of that in a moment. The next scenario is a lot of schools, and really where students need the most advice, is that your school doesn't really have a pre-med track. They may have an advising office or so, but they don't have a pre-med track and there's not a pre-med major. In that case, you're really left on your own to choose what are you going to major in, and this is where we're going to spend the bulk of this video because that's where the most advice is needed. Moving on, now you've already figured out what your school has, pre-med or not, pre-med track or not. Now we're thinking about, okay, what major am I actually going to choose? And I have a couple questions that I think every student, regardless of track, major, specialty, thing you want to be when you grow up, this is what you should ask yourself. The first question you should ask is, what am I good at? What do I like, right? So when you're thinking about a major, you first have to figure out what it is you want to do in life. If you've chosen pre-med, you still have to figure out what subject do you enjoy the most? Well, part of doing really well in school is you're doing something that you love. It sucks to try to have to get A's and B's in something that you hate every single day and really think that you'll get ahead. But it's a lot easier to get great grades if you're really interested in your material. A practical example would be if you really are not a fan of biology and chemistry, you probably shouldn't major in it. And you're thinking, but I want to go to medical school, I want to be good for the MCAT. Well, that's where your prereqs come into. Most prereqs in most schools that say, hey, these are the courses that we think students need to do well in medical school. Well, you're going to have to take those anyway, regardless of what major you choose. And those are the classes that prepare you well for the MCAT, which prepare you well for medical school. So it'll all be answered in its own. All right. So first you want to choose, what do you really like? What are you really good at? If you're really, really good at science, then you should probably stick to the biological sciences, the neuroscience, the chemistry, the biochemistry. That's a great arena for you. But everybody doesn't have that strength. So if your strength is more of your social sciences, then maybe if you want to stay closer to the health and wellness aspect, maybe you stay to public health, or maybe you go psychology or sociology, right? And then we can get the prereqs outside of your major, and then you'll still have just as good of a palette in applying to medical school. Every student is going to have their weaknesses, but the thing that is going to be good is that you're going to be strong in something, and no student is going to be perfect in every subject. Biology may be hard for one student applying, but it may be easy for another, and vice versa. So don't feel bad if your interest is not the prototypical science-based thing. It's no problem. So all of that leads me to my next point, is that when you're choosing this major and you may have identified what you're best at or what you really enjoy, it's important for you to look at what courses are actually included in this major. A very common misconception among students is that if I take biology, then that's the so-called pre-med, or if I take chemistry, then that's going to make me an engineer, and every class in that major will be focused around getting me to a said, career path. And that's not really true, especially for students who want to do anything pre-health or pre-med or anything like that. A large majority of your classes that you'll take in a biology or chemistry or psychology have absolutely nothing to do with your future career. Biology is the study of life. So you're going to have, plant biology, you're going to have vertebrate biology, invertebrate biology. And a lot of those things are not covered on the MCAT. You won't see them in medical school. You won't see them anywhere else. So don't get caught into that myth that it's going to be what you need and only what you need. So that's why it's really important for you to know what classes are in there. And you need to be just as comfortable, just as interested in those classes that reside outside of medicine as that are inside of medicine when you put that into the major that you're going to do. The other thing that you want to be aware of what's inside of your major is so that you know what prereqs you need to have outside of your curriculum. This is the part where we talk about taking control of your own education, because you need to know what is in your major and what things are you going to have to register outside of that maybe an advisor or somebody in charge of your curriculum will not tell you that you need to graduate. There's things you need to graduate and there's things you need for medical school. It's your responsibility as a responsible student to know what you need so that you can plan your schedule around that. So know what classes are in your major so that you can know whether you're interested in all of them, and then also know what classes are in your major so that you know what prereqs are not inside of that you need to get elsewhere. A very common question I get is, what should I minor in? Are minors necessary? What do medical schools think about minors? This is a very simple answer, and it takes people by surprise a lot of times, which is, what do you want to minor in and why are you minoring? I mean, minoring is not required for medical schools. In most places, it doesn't make you look any better or worse. It really depends on your reasoning of why you're getting this minor. If you're getting a minor, just like anything else from medical school, to check a box, it's probably not going to work in your favor because there's no purpose. We want to know why you got this minor. So a lot of purpose in which students find minors, and I'll start with the simplest and work my way up. So the simplest way a lot of students will gain a minor is, again, prereqs. You are going to be taking a vast majority of prereqs that may or may not be in your major. So if you are majoring in psychology and you need your biology classes, biochemistry may fall in that, your bio 1, bio 2, a lot of classes may fall into biology at your institution, then you might go ahead and have all of these biology requirements that are not in your major, and you just might as well say, oh, I need 15 biology credits to get a minor. I already got 13, I might as well get the other 2 because I worked this much already, right? So it's kind of built in that if you take all these prereqs, it's already a minor. Very simple, a lot of students will opt for that. The next reasoning, which is when you're getting to what's my purpose, is a lot of students who want to work in a global healthcare setting, or they want to work with a non-English speaking population. That's where you start getting into language minors, where you can immerse yourself in another language and have another skill that you can present to medical schools. But just having the skill alone will not set you apart. What do you plan to do with that? Do you plan to work with Doctors Without Borders? Do you plan to, work as a translator in addition to your work as a healthcare provider? So being able to understand what you plan to do with that and have a passion with that language is what really will set you apart, rather than, oh, I majored in Spanish just so that I could have it under my portfolio. Not really a good answer. Another reason to minor, and this is something that I'll get to in a tip later, is because if you really, really know that you want to go into something like private practice in the end, I've heard of this, maybe 2 students that I advised, is that they really already knew what they wanted to do business-wise ahead, so they minored in business, or they majored in business and did their prereqs elsewhere. Or I had one student who wanted to do graphic communications, and this is a really, really interesting one, but she wanted to do plastic surgery. She felt like if she could create what her patient wanted, she could create and operate. So thinking outside of the box, that was how that kind of got into it. But these are all reasons to minor. The overarching point is find your why, find your purpose. If that leads you to a minor, then you're on the right track. Do not do a minor just because you feel like you have to. I didn't do one. A lot of people didn't do one. So it's not the most important thing, but it can be very, very important if you find it purposeful. All right, so to wrap up this video, I got a couple tips in the end, and I think this is what you really want to keep in mind as you're developing your thoughts as you enter medical school, as you enter college from high school, or you're currently in college and really searching for your place. All right, so the first tip I have for you is please, please, please go prepared to your advisors. This might be my inner advisor coming out, but You know, the role of an advisor is simply that, to give you advice, to give you suggestions. And a lot of times students really feel like coming out of high school that they had curriculum advisors or teachers or guidance counselors who really just told them what to do. And really your advisor in college can do that, but that's not you really getting the most expertise out of them. When you get the expertise out of your advisor is when you come prepared for what you want. You know that you want to go to medical school, so you say, hey, I want to major in this, I want to go to medical school. Here's what I kind of think of how I want to schedule my classes. Is this possible? They have curriculum catalogs and all of these things that tell you what class you need. Go in prepared, have an idea, and let them guide you in the ways that you don't know. I promise you that will greatly enhance what you're able to get out of your education and allow you to have some creativity about how you go about scheduling things so that you get the best benefit as you go in your 4 years of undergrad. The next thing is I want you to think long term. So a lot of times in school, we get bogged down with the fact that we're here for 4 years and things are going to go by so slowly. But when you're thinking long term, remember this education is your foundation for skills you will acquire later. For students who are pre-med, it's that you are gaining these skills, this basic science knowledge, obviously to do well in the MCAT, but so that you can be a great physician in the future. So let's take myself, for example. My educational foundation includes a health science degree. It includes an educational counseling degree in student affairs. And now that I'm in medical school, it will include a medical doctorate degree. So what I really want to do when I get older is, regardless of what specialty it is, I want to do something in education. I got an education master's, I got a health science background, medical doctorate. I get it all at once. I don't have to get it all in one major, but I got it all in time to get in my career and be proficient in what I'm doing. Another great example of this is for students who want to get into, public health administration, or even, like I mentioned before, go into some sort of, business plan, private practice when they get into an attending. So in that case, how do you go about getting your business acumen and your medicine and your basic science? So you could do something like business major, biology minor, business major, public health master's, public health major, business master's, MBA. So there's a lot of ways to do this. Be creative. Think in the future, and that's how you really create your own educational experience that is unique to you. The last tip I have for you is always remember, this is a fluid model. It will flow, you will have great ideas, and you will change your mind, and that is okay. We can regroup. That's why you have your advisors, that's why you have your professors. Do not feel like once you create a plan, this is gonna be it for the next 7 to 8 years of your life, or 4 years for undergrad. Remember that this is fluid. Just as your brain changes, you are maturing, you'll find different interests, and you can change a lot of these things. The most important thing is the end result, and I promise you will be okay, all right? So again, hit the comments, the likes, subscribe, all of that. Let me know if you have questions. I'll answer them as quick as I possibly can. But listen, this was the first episode in the Pre-Med University series. I'll be back with more. Next time, I think we're going to be discussing what activities you should get into, so tune into that. Until then, it's Atlasthemd student. Please don't forget the students. Peace.